Let me ask you a question about Scott Walker. He was just on the stage here. Paul Ryan, also from Wisconsin. You and I have talked about this before. They have a kind of leadership model that is based on how they campaign. They argue that if you are loud and proud about conservative principles, really tell voters exactly what you're going to bring to them, that benefits you as a candidate. What do you think about that theory? Let's start there.
I think it's good as a candidate. Why? Because the Democrats always accuse a Republican presidential candidate of wanting to attack Social Security and Medicare. But if you actually have a plan that's written down, they can't make up lies. They can criticize the plan, but you wrote the plan, so you know how to make the case. That happened in 2000, 2004 with Social Security. Bush wasn't hurt because he said, look, this plan doesn't affect anyone over 55, and here's why it's good for young people. Same thing with what Romney's doing on Medicare. So that's why it's good politics in a campaign. But it's even more important for governing. If you tell people ahead of time, as Reagan did, I'm going to cut taxes across the board 33%, and you win, you earn the right to do that. Obama talked about hope and change and then had a 3,000-page piece of legislation. He said, and you all agreed to this. That's not the way people remember it, and it cost him the House of Representatives in 2010.
Where do you gauge then what Mitt Romney, how he's run his campaign on that same leadership model? Has he run the way you would expect a Walker or a Ryan would, or has he been a little bit more reserved in terms of really building a mandate through the way he campaigns?
Given the generational difference, he's running much more as the younger Republicans do than his father did.
But is he building a movement for change when he gets elected, do you think?
Yes, because he's laid out, because he picked Ryan, and because he's endorsed specific policy changes on taxes, spending, and entitlement reform.
Let me go back to Ryan for a question. You know the conservatives really better than anybody else we could ask this question, which is, I talk to conservatives who say he's really energized the party. Talk about that a little bit. Is it true? And secondly, how does that manifest itself? Why is that important here?
Yeah, Ryan has really energized the modern conservative movement, but he's also reached out to independents. He explains conservative policies well. He has Reagan's ability to communicate great ideas simply, easily, so that they're easy to understand, so that people who don't follow politics all day, don't talk in acronyms, don't talk in Washington lingo, can understand what you're talking about and it makes sense to them. That's why I think he's such a great communicator for the modern conservative movement.
When Mitt Romney leaves here Thursday night as the party nominee and given a speech, what are you and other people who want to see him elected, what are you going to be able to say about Mitt Romney that you can't say today?
I think we're going to see some of the personal attributes highlighted. So, and some voters, that's very important for them. He's also going to speak to the policy questions so that it makes it more difficult for the Democrats to misrepresent his entitlement reforms. So being able to articulate more clearly the entitlement reforms, tax reform, and also to have a little more biography there.
Okay, Grover, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform for CBSNews.com. I'm John Dickerson.